Hey guys, welcome to the RAMZPAUL show. It is December 10th, 8 p.m. Central Time. It's great to be here with you guys. It's cold here in Arkansas. Got the space heaters on, so hopefully you're keeping nice and warm. Christmas is coming. This is an exciting time of year. From September through December 31st, I love it. Then January kind of sucks, but hopefully we're doing a lot of stuff to keep it fun on the RAMZPAUL show, including tomorrow. We have Happy Homelands, and Alicia will be with us again. And you don't want to miss that episode because she was actually retweeted by the alleged killer, Luigi. So, Luigi, we're going to check that out. So we're going to talk to her about that. And it should be a fun episode tomorrow night. So Wednesday's Happy Homelands. And Thursday, we're back to the RAMZPAUL show. And if you're new to the show, welcome. We do this Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And we changed the format up a little bit. I just focus on specific topics and we dig into it. We go long as I get feedback or how interesting the stories are. That's how long we go. Typically an hour, 15 minutes. It just depends on the day. Wednesday is Happy Homelands, again, 8 p.m. And then Friday, typically, or maybe sometimes a Sunday, we have Night Owls with Sasha. It's a great time doing the show with her. And the Night Owls is a little bit different. We don't so much discuss the news, although we discuss movies and culture items and gossip and all that type of stuff. So Night Owls, that's a lot of people's favorites. And then Sunday, we are having our roundtable. If you're not part of Gumroad or GroupApp, get a part of that. And I've been doing a lot of essays on Substack, so a lot of them free. So just sign up for my Substack. I would like to see you there. And if you want to interact with the show, I really do appreciate it. There's a few ways you can do it. YouTube has Super Chats. Rumble has rants. There's a Powerchats here, that link. You can use a Power Chat a day or night, and I will get it. And then there's Stream Elements. They have a tip feature, which I really appreciate. So I appreciate all your input, and thank you so much for all being here. We'll get started. I have the topics I'm going to discuss tonight are Daniel Penny, drones over New Jersey, Luigi, and Canada's estate, and Trump on his immigration, and Syria. And then we'll wrap up with like a dog video that's kind of fun. So that's the kind of the plan for tonight. And we're going to start off with the Daniel Perry here. And let me just queue up this video and we'll be able to start this. So I guess he's going to be interviewed or was interviewed. So this should be a interesting interview, but we'll get some tidbits of this right now. So let's take a look at this. And thank you guys all for being here. I really do appreciate it. Daniel Penny discusses his equivalent preview of the five. So we'll take a look at this.
Breaking his silence in an exclusive interview with Judge Jeanine Pirro. That's going to be streaming tomorrow on Fox Nation, just one day after a jury in Manhattan cleared him in the subway chokehold death of Jordan Neely. The former Marine revealing what was racing through his mind in the moments when he was on the subway floor, subduing Neely, a schizophrenic homeless man who was high on K2 and railing violently at passengers.
And this guy had a long history of doing this. We shouldn't have to put up with schizophrenic people or violent criminals. And I'm not, I'm not totally callous, right? So if you're mentally ill, we should reopen the mental asylums. We shouldn't have mentally ill people attacking us. If he's not mentally ill, he's just a criminal, then he needs to be in prison. We shouldn't have to live around criminals. And so Daniel Penny was trying to help the other passengers.
He was just threatening to kill people. He was threatening to go to jail forever, go to jail for the rest of his life. And now where I'm on the ground with him, I'm on my back in a very vulnerable position. If I just would have let go, now he turns.
Why is that a vulnerable position?
Well, he could, if I just let him go, I'm on my back now. He can just turn around and start doing what he said to me. So killing, hurting.
So according to the testimony, and this isn't just Penny, the other passengers in court, they testified the same thing, including black passengers. They said that he was threatening to kill people. He didn't care if he's going to go jail for life. He wants to kill people. So he made a threat and he started to attack people. So he acted on the threat. And so Penny, he stopped Jordan Neely and pulled him down and put him in a chokehold. And if you don't want to be in a chokehold, don't threaten to kill people on the subways. It's not that difficult. This didn't have anything really even to do with race. I think Penny would have done the same thing even if it was a white guy. And so this is what it was. And another black guy helped him to hold Jordan Neely down. And then afterwards, Jordan Neely died. I don't know if it's from the chokehold or drug overdose. And frankly, I don't really care. I think the world is better off now without Jordan Neely. And part of it, you could say that's callous, but he wasn't adding to society. He was a parasite. He was arrested 43 times. He had previously attacked an elderly woman and broke her face. A horrible person. And so a lot of the blacks, like Black Lives Matter, they're trying to make this, and oh, it's because he was black, a white supremacist vigilante. Well, a vigilante is different than what this guy did. A vigilante is when someone breaks a law and then you go after them. So let's say I hear a story, someone broke in my neighbor's house, my neighbor calls me, then I go after to kill him. That would be a vigilante. That's illegal. I need to call the police. But when someone's being attacked, I would say you actually have a moral responsibility to help your fellow man. And that's what Daniel Penny did. And he shouldn't have been arrested. He should have been given a medal. In fact, the district attorney that charged him, she needs to be held accountable. And we've heard from her statement. She's a Jewish woman. Her grandfather, parents were supposedly killed in the Holocaust and all these tales. For whatever reason, she has a grievance not just against Germans, but all white people. And she made that perfectly clear. So this was racially motivated. And we know that because in other instances, this district attorney, she allowed a black thug that murdered I think a 67-year-old Asian man at an ATM. She let him go free because restorative justice. I felt so sorry for the poor boy. So it's not like she has a different standard that we've seen all the time. So if it's blacks that terrorize their people, she's going to let them go. If it's a white person defending other people, she's going to come down hard on them. She needs to be held accountable.
The former Marine enduring years of vicious left-wing attacks who vilified him as a racist. But Penny has no regrets, and here's why.
What in you caused you to want to get involved?
I mean, I'm not a confrontational person. I don't really extend myself. I think this type of thing is very uncomfortable. All this attention and limelight is very uncomfortable. And I would prefer without it. I didn't want any type of attention or praise, and I still don't. Mm-hmm. The guilt I would have felt if someone did get hurt, if he did do what he was threatening to do, would never be able to live with myself. And I'll take 1 million court appearances and people calling me names and people hating me just to keep one of those people from getting hurt.
Yeah, let's do the right thing and risk the consequences. Sometimes in life you have to do what's right, even though you could have a philosophy, why should I get involved? Because this guy's pretty big. He's probably not going to attack me. He'll attack the weaker people first. But this guy had a higher standard of morality, that he had a duty to help protect his fellow man and women from being killed by this thug. And again, it wasn't a light threat. This guy has previously attacked people and been arrested, I think 43 times. And again, that kind of blows my mind. Someone could get 43 convictions and they're still walking the streets of a city. There's really, the amount of criminals is fairly small, but it's the same people that do it over and over and over. And if you put those people in prison or the graveyard or the mental institution, you eliminate like 80% of the problems. Yeah, you're never going to get 100%, but you'll really clean up the city. And we know that Giuliani years ago in the 90s, he cleaned up New York City. And they did this as they didn't have any tolerance for criminals. And if you stop them right away, long ago, Neely should have been stopped and put into prison. He would still be alive today, and people would have had a better quality of life.
Were killed.
Daniel Penny also sending a message to liberal city leaders whose policies led to what happened on that subway. Watch.
These public officials would do something so self-serving.
But how does it serve them to hurt you?
Because I don't know his answer, but I'll answer it. Because they're playing the racial antagonism vote. Because they hate white people, and they like to say white people are the enemy. White people must never harm a person of color, especially a black, no matter what, even if they're trying to save other people. We got to have this priestly class called black people. And they have this idea the only reason blacks get arrested a lot is not because of the black behavior, because of white supremacy. When that's not the case, it's because of black behavior. And that is the reason. So these politicians, they play to that racial envy and hatred of their constituents. And that includes maybe other blacks or Jews that have this hatred. And again, not all blacks have this hatred or all Jews, but there's a lot that it plays off that. So this is why they enact these policies. They like these criminals to prey on people. It's their form of warfare against us. So they're not doing it directly. They are sending people in to do it as a proxy. And I've used this analogy a lot, which actually could be a true analogy. It literally happened at Sasha's house. We found this snake skin in her house, her dad's house, this abandoned house. It's like, God, there's a snake somewhere in there and there's copperheads. But I've used this analogy is to be like for someone at your house, for example, is opening your window and they're throwing copperheads, rattlesnakes in your house, venomous snakes, and then they run off. Well, who's the real guilty party here? The snake or the person that threw the snake in your house? Jordan Neely's a snake, or he was a snake, right? He's like a rattlesnake. He harms people. But then you have this district attorney and a lot of the political officials that are throwing these snakes on the subway to harm people because they have limos. They don't have to deal with this, and they're doing this intentionally. So both are responsible. Yeah, we got to clear out the snakes. We don't want snakes on the subway or in our house or in the town. And if you can't live like a civilized person, you need to live separate from us, whether that is in a prison or in the graveyard. You won't be living there, but or in a mental institution, whatever. But we have no obligation to have you around us. And but the snake handlers, they need to be heavily penalized. Like the district attorney, there should be a criminal investigation opened on her. She's obviously not compatible with our country. She has a lot of hatred, and she needs to be held accountable for her actions.
Just political gain. I mean, these are their policies that are, and I don't mean to get political. I don't really want to make any enemies, really, although I guess I have already. But I mean, these are their policies that have clearly not worked, that the people, the general population, are not in support of, yet their egos are too big just to admit that they're wrong.
I don't think it's so much egos, it's just their, again, some of them are doing it in a malicious reason because they want to harm us. Other people are true believers in equality, meaning all ethnic groups are the same and they should have the same behaviors. And if we have different behaviors, the only reason can be because of racism or white supremacism. So the fact that blacks commit more crimes, way more crimes than white people, especially violent crimes. And this holds true not just in New York City and San Francisco, for example. They have their cameras in the subways, and they would release all the footage of people that would mug people in the subway. But they stopped releasing the photos because all the suspects were black. I mean, almost every one. You almost never had a white guy or Asian guy or Jewish guy. It's almost all black. And they go, oh, this is racist. Well, it's reality. It's reality. But they don't want to understand that reality, and they make excuses for that reality. So when they see this high percentage of black crime, they say, well, it's not the blacks' fault. It's because must be white supremacist and we have an unjust system. And then they make stories or narratives that don't even represent reality. And for a long time, they never got pushback on it. Like these Black Lives Matter representatives, I didn't know they're still around, but they were, even after this, they were running with a narrative that it was just some, like, and we're going to show a video of this, but it was just like this Penny just hated black people and just randomly attacked some black that was just minding his business. Or, oh, well, you shouldn't have to attack someone because they're loud. Well, I don't think you should ride the subway if you can't control yourself, including being loud. But this guy was not just being loud. He was literally threatening to kill people. And again, he's been arrested 43 times with violent crime. He was attacking people. He said, I don't care if I go to prison forever. And so that's a threat. And Penny and another black guy, they held him down until the police got there. And again, the people that testified for Penny, including some black women that were feeling threatened by this thug. And so that is the issue. But the Black Lives Matter, because I don't care about the truth, they just come up with a fake narrative that, oh, Penny must be in the Ku Klux Klan and he just wanted to harm random black people. And you could tell by looking at the guy, he's just a mild-mannered guy, doesn't want trouble with anyone. Most people don't want trouble with anyone, right? Really, the majority of people, they just want to ride the subway, want to get to their destination. They don't want to get in a fight. They don't want to argue. They just want to be quiet, read a book, listen to their music. They don't want to start shit. And so it's not them that starts it. It's these assholes that we have to deal with. But the BLM, they try to do a fake narrative like, oh, this is just a white person randomly killing people. Or, oh, how can you, a lot of people are supporting that Luigi, but they're trying to compare that Luigi killer, which is a murder because he planned to murder someone because they didn't like his opinions, to Penny, who totally different situation. He was protecting people. He wasn't trying to kill anyone. In the process of protecting people, Neely died. But that's not Penny's fault. That's Neely's fault. Or you could say it's the city's fault by not taking care of Neely. So those are very different things. But Black Lives Matter, they like to conflate the two. So let's take we'll have a look at another video here of this Black Lives Matter thing. Oh, I got one already from Louis Barrow. Luigi ruined his life. Nothing will change and the health company CEOs will just beef up security. He will now spend 20 years in prison around the worst that diversity has to offer. Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree with that. And he didn't accomplish anything. And if found guilty, he should go to prison. You don't have a right to murder people. And it's interesting. We'll get into the Luigi story. But the issues he brought up are real concerns to Americans. But that doesn't excuse him for him doing what he did. A lot of people just have to put things in black and white categories. So you could be a horrible person that deserves execution, but you could also say things that make a lot of sense. Like Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, I don't support what he did, sending bombs. I think that's wrong. But he wrote some interesting things. And this Luigi guy, he brought up some good points. But I don't support what he did. But let's take a look at some more of this Penny thing and how this relates to Black Lives Matter. And then we'll get to Luigi here pretty soon.
Harry Urban, Fox News legal editor, and Bobby Chacon, retired FBI agent. Great to see you both this morning. So much expertise between the two of you. Let's start with that point, Carrie. So if he contests being extradited, he doesn't have an attorney yet, so I don't even know how you contest it, but 45 days before he'd see the beginning of a legal process here?
Yeah, and I don't think there's going to be an issue ultimately in getting him back to New York. I think Governor Hochul will work with Governor Shapiro if he were to fight that. A public defender will be assigned to him at some point if he continues to languish without an attorney. But
are you surprised by that?
I am surprised given the fact that he apparently comes from a lot of money. So I am.
Yeah, I heard that his family was rich, but that doesn't mean necessarily he was rich. Sometimes people come from a family with money, but they don't get any themselves.
Very surprised about the fact that his family hasn't gotten him a lawyer yet, or maybe they are in the process of doing this. I don't know. But if he were not to have a lawyer, that he didn't hire one, there would be a public defender assigned to him in some way. But I don't think there'll be an issue in getting him back to New York ultimately, where he will see justice.
Bobby, I want to drill down on something that I don't think is being talked about very much. This man's face was everywhere. I mean, he was taking his mask down to like flirt with a woman early on at a cafe or at a store here in New York. He was all over the cameras that are the city, certainly not during his getaway, they think, in Central Park, because that place is basically dark with cameras, just a few. They do have drone coverage. So my question for you is, why didn't we see him everywhere? I mean, the whole country was alerted to this. I just wonder why we didn't see more. Social media is alive with him over the last 7 days.
Well, but this is kind of nondescript. They just had this one photo, and I'm not really good at recognizing people. And sometimes may see someone, it kind of looks like him, but I wouldn't think it would be him. So I'm not really surprised. I don't really analyze people that much. I try not to interact with people in public. So I could see how you could probably just walk around and people wouldn't notice you.
Well, I think he was he was kind of hiding himself. I mean, he was acting as a hermit almost. My question, bigger than that, is, Harris, why didn't we hear from his family and friends, these people that knew him and saw his face plastered all over the news? Now we're hearing that between 6 months and a year ago, he kind of went off the grid. That's even more reason if a friend or a family member saw him on the news saying, that's my cousin or that's my frat brother that went off the grid 6 months ago. Now I know where he is, and call the police. Why did it take someone at that McDonald's to kind of notice him? He didn't hide himself. He was an Ivy League frat boy. He had a lot of friends. They were the country club types. He was very social. So where were all these people in his life that knew him when in the last 7 days, when his picture was global, it was blasted globally? Why didn't anybody pick up the phone and call and say, I think that's the guy?
Well, maybe they did. We don't know that if they didn't. They might, because the police may have knew the guy, that it was Luigi, before they arrested him. They just didn't know where he was. So that guy in McDonald's, that old boomer guy that thought he recognized him and called the police, that's when they came and arrested him. But the other people may have called because the police just may not have released the name for whatever reason.
Yeah, or anybody. I mean, he was all over the place. I know you say
we had a mask on mostly, though.
He was a hermit. Here in New York, there's a lot of footage of him. He was moving around. He was leaving evidence. He was leaving, little bullet casings were left behind by him that had words written on them, just little clues. We don't know if it was a game. We have no idea, but there was a lot there. Now I want to move to the other huge story that affects really millions of people. Because if someone can't come to your rescue in a desperate situation because others are feeling threatened, if there can't be an American hero to save the day, we're in a world of hurt. Well, now we don't have to worry about that in the case of Daniel Penny. New York and beyond has been divided after a jury acquitted Marine veteran Penny in the death of Jordan Neely.
And again, it wouldn't be controversial if he did this to a white guy, or if it had been a black guy that did it to another black guy. It's only the paradigm white people can never hurt blacks because they're special. That's basically what it comes down to.
He was that erratic person I was just describing. They were all aboard a subway underground with passengers who were panicking. Penny's lawyers, right after the verdict. Let's watch.
You're not a child.
All right, just a second here. Well, I want to see the rest of this. I just have to get through this. Let's get through this ad real quick here. Sorry about that. Okay, here we
Can
go.
you tell me how you're feeling about this right now?
You going this way?
Can you tell me how you're feeling?
Feeling great, guys, and it's just a great day. It's just a great day.
Now, there have been calls for the Manhattan District Attorney, Alvin Bragg, who we know is soft on crime, far liberal. He ran on the words, "I'm going to get Trump." So did Letitia James, the state's attorney general. I mean, there's a thirst here on that side of the equation in the law, and it's very much liberal. So here were his words.
No, it's not liberal. It's anti-white. Let's just call it what it is. Because if it had been a conservative black man that did this to another black guy, there wouldn't have been the issue. This is strictly anti-white. So don't fall into this. It's liberal, conservative. There's people, they have ethnic solidarity, and they're like, basically they're saying, you better not ever hurt one of us. And Neely was one of us. We as white people have a hard time processing that way because we don't usually think that. For example, let's say if it had been a white crazy bum that had been arrested 43 times, and then he was threatening to kill people on the subway, and a black guy, ex-Marine, stopped him and held him down to protect other people, including white women and other people. That black guy would be considered a hero. There would be no charges pressed. Even in New York City, even if the black guy was a Republican conservative, that wouldn't matter. This is all racial. And people in the Republican Party and in mainstream GOP, they tend to look through the lens of everything as Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative, whereas those labels, and we need to use labels because they give an idea of someone's stance, but they can be a little bit simplistic. And it's easy to, instead of getting at the real issue, is to use these labels. So it's easier to say Alvin Bragg is a liberal, and that's why he, went after Trump, and that's why he went after Penny, versus saying what it really is he's black, and he's going after Penny because Penny's white. It's pure race. That's what it is. And people don't want to touch on that, though. So it's the old meme of, why is East St. Louis so bad? Why is Detroit so bad? Why is Oakland so bad? It's because they have Democrats as the mayor. Now, that's not the reason. The reason is racial. But they don't want to touch that, so they make these other excuses.
Yesterday, there were calls for him to resign. He lost this case.
Boy, that guy eats a lot.
After making a lot of hay about it and bringing it in the first place. Quote, "As with every case, we followed the facts and the evidence from beginning to end. The jury has spoken now. We deeply respect the jury process, and we respect their verdict." He needed to come out ahead of all the protesting yesterday and say a few words like that and call for them to stay peaceful.
Well, they did, though. And if you look at this here, this is a trick the media uses to make the crowd look bigger. They have the camera low. There's probably no one behind these people. So there's probably literally maybe 10 people here protesting. Let me see. 1, 2. Well, this guy's an observer. This guy's not even with them. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There could be just a half dozen people here protesting. These professional agitators. It's a media trick how they do the camera work. But as I predicted the other day, I said there weren't going to be any riots over this because people of all races are sick of criminals attacking people. And they're happy someone took a step to prevent that. And so there weren't any riots. I was right. And they may have been in 2020, but the vibe has changed quite a bit in America.
He still needs to do that because not everybody respects the court's decision, the jury's decision. Protesters outside the courthouse yesterday could be heard inside the courthouse. And before the decision came down, I was asking, well, how does that affect the case? How long has that been going on? New York's Black Lives Matter leader with what really...
She looks, she's not black, she probably is Jewish. So, I mean, there's this certain, it's just not blacks involved. In fact, the leadership of Black Lives Matter, Susan Rosenberg, she was one of the top of an organ. She wasn't in Black Lives Matter, but she was in the umbrella organization that funded them. She kind of had a face like this. She was part of the Weather Underground, and she literally was responsible for bombing the U.S. Capitol in 1983. I'm not talking a firecracker. It was a real bomb. It could have killed people. Fortunately, no one was killed. She was caught, sentenced to like 20 years in prison, and then Bill Clinton pardoned her. And so whenever they talk about the January 6 people, yeah, fuck you, they let her go. And then she went right back in polite society, her anti-white hatred, and decided to fund this BLM. Not like she gives a shit about blacks, but she just wants to attack whites.
Really is a threat.
Stop begging this system to justify our lives. Stop begging this system for justice. When things happen to you, you step up and defend yourself. Just like everybody else seeks justice on their own, just like everybody else has vigilantes.
Penny wasn't a vigilante. I mean, a vigilante, he doesn't understand that word. Obviously, he's low IQ. But this is the word they use. They don't understand what that means.
We need some black vigilantes.
That's right.
That's right.
People want to jump up and choke us and kill us for being loud.
Well, he wasn't choked for being loud. He was choked because he's threatening to kill people. And notice how he says us. He looks at everything in a racial context.
How about we do the same when they attempt to oppress us?
Jordan Neely was threatening passengers aboard that subway. His words were, someone is going to die today.
Yeah, Neely was saying someone's going to die today. He was going to kill people.
A very different reaction for many who are angry that the charges were brought in the first place. A lot of columns and opinion pieces being written. Here's a small sample. Stop electing soft on crime radicals like Alvin Bragg. Another. Daniel Penny's innocence and the shame of Alvin Bragg. Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett writes, Bragg has done lasting damage. And another here, Daniel Penny may have been acquitted, but the bad guys still won. The New York Post cover. Enough is enough. Jurors reject Bragg's indictment of a man who protected subway riders. Carrie, I come to you on the legality of some of what was said yesterday. That was a small, little clip from that man calling for black vigilantes. There were also threats from a BLM leader, I guess is what you'd call her yesterday, a lot of news conferences by the protesters, to burn stuff down in the city, to burn cars. Those are threats. Those are promises of violence. Alvin Bragg should be busy today.
Not really. A lot of people don't understand the First Amendment, and the Supreme Court has ruled on this. I forget the case, but we actually have and this is a good thing, quite a broad category. We kind of don't understand because social media doesn't allow violent threats. But violent threats, as long as they're general and they're not specific, are legal in the United States. So you could make a threat, someday someone should go in there and, take care of all these politicians or drop a nuke on the Capitol. You could say something vague like that where you don't have anything specific. You're just talking in general. It's what's illegal is when you make a specific threat to a person, then that's illegal. The only exception is the president. You can't threaten his life. You get a visit by the Secret Service. But what the black guy said, while objectionable, was not illegal. I don't think, anyway. Now, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't go after these groups, like the Department of Justice has gone after white groups forever. There are no white groups anymore because of this. Infiltrate them and trap them. You could use RICO against Antifa. Do they exist anymore? I don't even know. And BLM. Not that BLM's relevant anymore.
On that.
Look, it doesn't come as a surprise that BLM said what they said. They are a discredited and disgraced organization that is driven by racism and bullying. And, we never see them showing up in Chicago with all of the gang warfare that's going on there when you have when you have African-American people dying all the time.
Yeah, but they're being killed by other blacks, so they don't care. They're all about race, obviously.
To gang violence and the like, where are they then? They're not there. But Harris, look, if I were advising the Department of Justice as far as day one actions with respect to the soft on crime prosecutors, with Alvin Bragg being at the very, very top, here's something very specific and practical they can do. They need to take a look at the Office of Justice Programs, which is within the Department of Justice. OJP, that's the acronym for the division, they give out over $3 billion a year to cities across America to help with their law enforcement activities. If I were DOJ, on day one, I would get a list of all of the grants that's been given out, and I would match it up against cities that are being run to the ground by these progressive prosecutors. And I'd say, you know what? You're not getting millions of dollars from us anymore because you're not doing your job. You're not enforcing the law. You're downgrading felonies to misdemeanors, which Alvin Bragg, again, has done that over and over again. You prioritize political persecutions and prosecutions over actually keeping people safe. Enough.
Yeah. Bobby, from what you're seeing here from an FBI perspective, I am curious, with threats on the ground, is the FBI working some of this right now? And look,
well, not the current FBI, because Anthony Blinken, Department of Justice, or Merrick Garland, I guess it's Merrick Garland, they're okay with this. I mean, they support this. They are themselves anti-white, so they have no problems with that. So, yeah, no, they're not going. Why would they want to investigate BLM and Antifa when they are basically supporting them? So, no, they're not going to do anything.
we hope it goes away. We don't want to give it more oxygen to make it bigger, but we do have to cover the fact that there are threats out there, and they're based on race, and they're coming from a group that calls for black vigilantes against people who are not black.
Yeah, we think this is inciting violence, and that's a crime in and of itself. So I think you're right. I think hopefully, and I worked in the New York office of the FBI for many, many years, and I hope that they're following this situation, because these are people that are out there breaking the law. They're breaking the law just by inciting that violence. The violence doesn't have to occur, thankfully, for that to be a crime, and they should be charged with it. If Alvin Bragg was a responsible prosecutor, he would be charging these people. He'd be.
I disagree. And again, I'm not a fan of BLM or anything like that. But what that guy said, from what I saw, he wasn't making specific threats. He's just saying blacks need to engage in vigilantism. And that, I think, is covered by the First Amendment.
Be at least threatening to charge them. I think it's time to get rid of the immunity for prosecutors. The left talks all about getting rid of qualified immunity for police officers. I think you want to stop this. You want to make them really think about it before they bring a prosecution. You open them up to civil liability. When I was an FBI agent, I carried $2 million worth of liability insurance just in case somebody sued me. I think it's time for prosecutors to face those same types of penalties, because the Bar Association won't do it. The Bar Association is run by the left. They will not call these people to account. I think that civil liability on the part of prosecutors who abuse their office, it's time for that to happen.
Well, part of the problem here they're not really getting at, and Fox News won't get at, or these people are elected. These people are elected by people of color and so forth. And this is what the black community wants, or the Jewish community wants in New York City. So that's the problem. You have people that just fundamentally, for the most part, have different values and beliefs. And yes, I'm sure that nice black lady on there is an exception. But in general, they have different values. And they want to protect their race first. They don't care about other races. White people really don't understand how ethnocentric other races are. Despite the propaganda we get from Hollywood and the media, white people, I hate the term racist, but because it was a term I think Trotsky coined, it was just to attack our people. But we are the least racist of all the other races. All the other races have way more allegiance to their brothers, they would call it. They have ethnic solidarity, where white people, we get accused of that, but there's really not as much. So it's kind of hard for us to understand that, right? Again, changing the tables. If it had been a black guy stopping a crazy white homeless guy threatening to kill people, white people would not. They would also think the black guy is a hero. In fact, they would go opposite. They'd be like, "Oh my God, I want to take my picture with him," because we don't really have that. We don't in general. There's very few white people that would say, "Well, I don't care if the black guy." The white guy was a criminal that had been arrested 43 times, that was threatening to kill people, said he was going to kill someone that day. He didn't care if he went to jail. And the black guy chokehold him. I don't care that the white guy did all that stuff. It's just, he's white. The guy that put the chokehold on him is black. Therefore, I support the black guy being thrown in jail forever. Very few white people think that way. Whereas blacks, I would say most think that way, and other races do. So it's a quite a bit different in way of thinking. And this is a problem with multiculturalism in general, which Fox News doesn't really want to touch, but it's just fundamentally an issue. You can't have different groups of people together. You're always going to have this issue. And they try to get around it because they have then their like black newscasters, like that nice black lady there, to say, see, no, that's not the case. Well, yeah, there are exceptions, but I'm saying in general, ethnocentrism is much more pronounced among blacks and Jews and Hispanics than it is whites by far. In my opinion, he's a hero. Most of America is behind this kid. These same people, CEOs, would delete you and add $100 to the payroll. Yeah, I wrote my Substack. I talked about how Americans have always loved the outlaw that is what they think is fighting a against the corrupt system. And it's not always true, though. They romanticized it. And in my example, I thought of Bonnie and Clyde. Bonnie and Clyde, they were bank robbers, but they also robbed stores. They killed like 13 people, 9 police officers, but some civilians. And in the Depression, a lot of people secretly admired them because they thought they were screwed by the banks because of the Depression. They would lose their home or their farm. And they kind of lived through Bonnie and Clyde fighting against the system. When it probably really wasn't so much that. But, you know, and you got it with, even before that, the Wild West, Jesse James, Butch Cassidy, the Sundance Kid. There's always been an allure to people that, not all criminals, not like Neely, and it's not because of race. It just scuzzy criminals that randomly attack people. People don't really like that. But people that have a higher goal, while they may not condone the action, there's a certain persona or some romanticism about it. And just to be clear on my position, I don't advocate anyone doing that. And if he's caught, he should go to trial. And if he's found guilty, he should, spend the rest of his life in prison. So I don't conflate like Penny with Luigi. Daniel was a true hero. He was helping other people. He did nothing wrong, literally. Luigi, if the charges are true, he did something wrong. He took a life, and we don't live in a society where you can just be judge and jury and kill people like that. So I do not condone what he did. However, I can understand the appeal of what he did compared to a Neely that was just randomly hurting people. This guy was doing it because of the healthcare insurance industry that's really broken, that screws people. And you're right. I mean, not everyone that gets killed is a great guy. What was his name? Brian Thompson. He was part of the system that worked to implement AI to deny 90% of the claims. They deny more claims than any other people have done, any other insurance agencies. He was responsible. I'm sure he was all for DEI and replacing white guys. And he had his, he had like 10 mansions or something. So he wasn't a sympathetic figure. He wasn't a good guy. When this first happened, I equated it to when the mob had more control of like New York City, the 5 families, sometimes there'd be gang warfare and a mob boss would be gunned down. Would have I approved of that? Of course not. You can't gun down people, even mob bosses. But at the same time, am I going to really cry about the mob boss? No, not really. And that's kind of my position here. And it's interesting because Z-Man wrote a good article about it today too. We're writing about the same subject in a little different way, but it's not the mainstream. Republican pundits have had a hard time with Luigi because they always think in certain roles we're supposed to do. Like 20 years ago, all the Republicans against him, and we got to get this commie that's against capitalism. He's a leftist scum, that type of thing, right? And then when it turns out to be white, the left will say, oh, this just shows white men really do violence too, and we got to have gun control or something like that, right? But both sides didn't play that part this time. And a lot of people are really frustrated with the healthcare system. Insurance industry is very broken in this country and it's going to collapse. And a lot of the Republican pundits, and I won't say their names, but the mainstream ones, they don't really understand that. It's just not in their script because they just look at, oh, well, you're GOP supporter. That means you love Israel, you support the military, hoorah, and we got to stop these damn dirty communists, that type of thing. And they have we support corporations no matter what. Really? As Z-Man said, it wasn't really the government that deplatforms everyone, it's corporations. It's not the government that's pushing homosexuality in all these ads or race mixing, it's these corporations. It's not the government. I mean, the government does influence it. I'm not taking them off the hook, but all the DEI stuff the corporations are doing. So there is a paradigm that we on the right have to be rah-rah corporations. I was talking to Shasha about this. There's been a lot of cartoonish nature of how the left and the right is, and just corporations in general. And we saw that years ago with like The Simpsons, Mr. Burns. So if you're in charge of a corporation, you're some evil white guy. That's real right wing. Whereas most CEOs, they're basically prostitutes that follow whatever's popular. They're 100% behind any sort of sodomy and child sex changes. And they will say all the things they need to. Anti-white, they'll be on board with that. So it's not exactly what the stereotype shows it to be. But we still live in that paradigm that Mr. Monopoly Man still runs everything, when actually a lot of these CEOs are woke shit libs themselves. And that doesn't fit the paradigm. And that's why you have this weird kind of inversion now, where a lot of people on the left that used to be against big corporations are now like, oh my God, I just love corporations. And oh my God, I just love the CIA, FBI. It's funny how this has all changed. But so yeah, that is a definite thing that has happened there. So yeah, thank you for that anyway. So that was Daniel Penny. So we covered Daniel Penny. And now we're going to get to this story that's kind of weird. And just so you guys know, I don't believe in UFOs or anything like that, but I guess I differ than Tucker here, but I guess there was some drones or something over in New Jersey. Let's take a look at this.
Congressman Chris Smith, his constituents have been reporting drone activity over recent days. It's been happening over several weeks. Congressman, good to have you with us. The White House not ruling out anything, not giving us any answers. Neither did this hearing that we just heard some questions in. What is going on here, and when can people expect to get some answers from our leaders?
They should have had them immediately. Last night I was on the beach with Sheriff Mastronardi, and he's doing a magnificent job in trying to ascertain a threat for this. He's the Ocean County Sheriff. Sean Golden's doing the same thing in Monmouth County. So I was there on the beach, and I talked to several people, including a commander for the Coast Guard, who told me that the night before, I was there last night, so 2 nights ago. One of their 47-foot vessels, boats, was trailed very closely by more than a dozen of these drones. Now that, to me, is very, very not just suspicious, provocative, and this could be a foreign power, whether it be Putin or whether it be Xi Jinping in China or the Middle East. We can't rule any of that out.
Well, I doubt it's Putin. They have satellite technology, and so does China. How do they know it's just not some regular person? I don't know. Were the drones too big that, because you could buy a drone, right? And fly it around? I don't know. I don't even know what the laws are. It's funny. I had my Christmas party with Dave and we were talking about that. Cause you remember that one guy shot at the drone? I'm kind of sympathetic because it went over his property. Do you have property rights above your house? And if so, how high? Does someone have the right, just a regular person, to take a drone over your house? And let's say you start doing advertisements and you can't do anything about it because you don't own the airspace over your house. I don't know. This is an interesting situation. But no, I don't think it's the Russians or the Chinese.
Yeah, this is incredible. So
incredible.
A United States Coast Guard boat testified to you that 12 drones were following it in the water in the Atlantic Ocean.
Well, they're on a boat, so of course it's in the water.
Did they tell you anything about the size, what they look like? Were they able to get images? How close were they?
You know, they were pretty large, and they weren't far off the stern. So it's very, very troubling. I called the Joint Base and talked to the commanding officer there and asked, we know we have the capability within DOD to ascertain where it's coming from, even bring it down. And they have it, but they don't have the, quote, authority to do it.
What, from
so
who? See, this is the question, Congressman. So when you're out over the ocean and you have 12 of them out there, I think, it's a very reasonable question. Why weren't one of those drones trailing the Coast Guard ship shot down over the ocean?
Well, is it legal? I don't know the answer to this, but is it illegal for people to own drones and fly them next to a Coast Guard ship? Maybe it is. I don't know. But that'd be my question. I'm not sure the legality. You just can't randomly shoot shit down, right? We found that one guy. Remember that one guy I showed you, the drone, Amazon drone. They're smaller. It was over his house. He shot at it. He's facing federal charges. So I'm not quite sure if you can just willy-nilly shoot drones down.
And grabbed and checked out.
Well, again, the capability to do that in a way that could retrieve what it is and who's doing it.
You remember that? It kind of reminds me because there was that whole scare about that stupid Chinese balloon. Remember that a couple of years ago with Biden? And then there was a balloon hysteria. And then someone spotted a balloon up near Alaska. And we sent up a F-16 or something and shot this balloon down. And it turned out it was just a balloon that was put up by a hobbyist group. I guess there's these little groups of geeky guys. They just have a love and they get sophisticated balloons. They have a GoPro and we're going to send our balloon and we're going to look at stuff. I don't know, right? I mean, what the hell? People have weird hobbies, so, no different than video games, really. And all of a sudden their balloon got shot down by an F-16. So, yeah, I don't know.
Resides within the DOD. They have it. I've asked the commanding officer to get that authority. I've written Lloyd Austin to ask him to give that authority. I mean, this could be the beginning of something or it could be nothing. Who knows? But how dare they allow us to live? I just listened to the White House spokeswoman.
Say nothing.
They got nothing to tell us.
Unbelievable.
And we have the capability. And the night before, I was there last night till late. The night before, one of our police officers, again working for Sheriff Mastronardi, chronicled 50 coming from the ocean onto land.
Okay, but is that I don't really know. Is that illegal? Could you have a private citizen have a drone and fly your drone over the ocean, over land? And should they be shot down? I mean, remember, you're shooting bullets up in the sky. The bullets have to come down. That's a risk. That's why you can't shoot off your gun in a city. A Boogie in Fayetteville, that celebrity, that fat guy, he got in trouble here because someone came to his house. He's trying to threaten him, and he shot his gun up in the air, gave him a warning shot in Fayetteville. And you can't, even in Arkansas, you can't do warning shots, especially he lives near a school, so all sorts of felonies there. So, yeah, you just can't start firing bullets up in the sky.
50.
This is
I mean, this is really serious
it's
stuff.
insane. It's like a
Is this serious stuff? I don't really know if it is. I didn't hear that they bombed anything or anything like that. I don't know. Maybe they are like Chinese spy stuff or Russians. I kind of doubt that. I think that's paranoia.
a sci-fi movie, and it could be a hoax, but it's so large, the number
can't
of
be
them.
There's probably a ship that
it's a foreign entity.
launching them.
It's something that the U.S. knows and understands, or it's some kind of massive hoax with lots of people involved. But whatever it is, we absolutely have to know. So, this lack of answers is absolutely
Martha, there's
really
no way
upsetting.
it's a hoax. We have foreign powers, especially
No, I hear you.
China, Putin, Russia,
Absolutely.
and
We
the Middle
already,
East.
we watched the balloon go across and didn't shoot it down
Exactly.
until it was well out over the ocean. So let's hope we can get it right this time. It's already very late in that process. Unbelievable. I had one, go over my house, and it's a strange feeling. So
It's probably an Amazon drone. One went over my house. It was a strange feeling. What kind of feeling did you have, babe? What kind of feeling? I don't know. I'm a little skeptical on things like this. Maybe they're aliens from outer space. I really don't know. But I'm kind of skeptical about this. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think it's some sort of aliens or Putin or China or the Iranians? Pam, hi. Drones over 250 grams in weight are considered aircraft and require registration with the FAA and ID transmitter. Well, thank you. See, I got one of the smartest audiences around. They know this stuff. These large drones are way out of a normal person's league. Okay. So my next question is, and if you have a large drone, and what's the protocol? Is it to shoot them down, or what is it? Because I assume if you shoot, you got to be careful because the debris could land on like some kid, right? So I don't know. Maybe it is. I'm not really sure of the protocol, and I don't know why the military would hide this. I mean, obviously they want to. If it's Putin or China, they would want to make a big hay about that. Oh, I got a super chat. Thank you from Clutch71. I appreciate this. Let me bring this up. And mostly I'm asking because I really don't know about this subject, what my audience does. So thanks for that. Because I know you can buy like little toy drones and that's allowed. But these big ones, some of these drones are the size of a small school bus. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So I don't know who would have them or what their purpose of it would be. And then obviously if they're that big, I would assume that they're on radar, right? And I assume if you have a aircraft that's up, that's not responding, doesn't respond to air traffic control, isn't there a protocol what you do? Do you shoot it down? Or I'm not really sure what happens there. So it'd be interesting to get an answer what the issue was with the drones. Maybe it was UFOs. I don't think that though. But maybe it was Russia, but I don't know why they want to do it, right? Because they can just have satellites look at everything. See, that's the thing. Satellites are so sophisticated, they can look at anything from space. They don't need to have drones. Who knows? Maybe it's the cartels or something. Maybe it was white supremacists. I think it was white supremacists. That's probably the most likely answer. When in doubt, blame white supremacist. All right. Okay. So we did the drones over in New Jersey, and now we're going to do a little bit because I did a lot about Luigi, and we're going to talk more Luigi tomorrow night. I'm going to get Alicia's opinion on this. There was a fake manifesto that went out early in the day, and then it turned out it was fake, and I retweeted it, or I said it was alleged. I don't know if it's true or not. It turned out it wasn't true, so I deleted it. But we got the real one, which wasn't it. The fake one was actually better. And this is, it's more legit. Maybe it's still alleged. To the feds, I'll keep this short because I do respect what you do for our country. To save you a lengthy investigation, I stated plainly that I wasn't working with anyone. This was very trivial, blah, blah, blah. And I do apologize for the strife of traumas, but it had to be done. Frankly, these parasites simply had it coming. A reminder, the U.S. has the #1 most expensive healthcare system in the world. Yet we rank roughly 42 in life expectancy. This sounds like a Bernie Sanders talking point, really. Part of that is not anything to do with healthcare. It has to do with the people that live dangerous lives. And you got to compare apples to apples. Like if you compare white people that don't, they're not taking a lot of drugs compared to Europeans, I think that'd be more an apple to apple comparison. And then he talked about, so it was more of his healthcare thing that he went after. I think we got his motive pretty well. If this is the case, he was upset with the insurance industry and decided to take the law into his own hands. And you never know. A lot of people said this won't do anything, but it was interesting. It might have been coincidence, but Blue Cross of Connecticut wanted to limit anesthesia coverage, but right after this happened, they revoked that. So who knows? I think the discussion of the whole healthcare thing is more in the limelight now, and I think there'll be more discussion about it. It probably won't go anywhere, though, because the pharmaceuticals and the insurance agencies, they have a lot of money to pay off congressmen. But I don't know. Something needs to happen. And it really wasn't an issue that was discussed much in the presidential race. And Trump saying, oh, we got to have something better than Obamacare and just something. But he has no specifics. So I'm really not very optimistic that Trump is going to come up with anything. But it needs to be addressed. It's causing more and more issues. And that's part of the reason a lot of people were secretly cheering him on, is because almost everyone, the #1 cause of bankruptcy in America is health-related issues. And a lot of people, I think almost everyone, I don't know you guys, but anyone that has to deal with an insurance agency is just is crazy. So I can understand the frustration there. Without condoning what he did, I do understand the frustration. So we'll talk a little bit more about some of the stuff. He retweeted Alicia. We're going to talk about that tomorrow night. So you want to turn in for that. All right. This next one is kind of funny. Trump. This is why I like Trump. He's always funny. And he can do stuff that always, I have to laugh. It was a pleasure to have dinner the other night with the Governor Justin Trudeau of the great state of Canada. I look forward to seeing the governor again soon so that we may continue our in-depth talks on tariffs and trade, the result of which will be truly spectacular for all. Donald J. Trump. What a boomer. He pushed DJT. We know it's from you, Donald Trump. He tweeted this on Truth Social. He's been really kind of, he's just pulling the chain of Trudeau, saying that Canada should be the 51st state. And, a lot of Canadians would like it. They would get the First Amendment. They'd get their guns back. But I don't know if I would want it, because that state, first of all, you wouldn't want all of Canada to be one state. You'd have to break it up. And there's a lot of shit lives in Canada, so I don't know if it'd probably be another Democrat state. So I'm not sure this would be a great idea. But it's a way for Trump to show the power difference between the United States and Trudeau and kind of put Trudeau in his place. And it's a way to humiliate Trudeau, calling him a governor. And he's basically saying, Canada, you need to shut the fuck up. You're our bitch. Never forget that you're our bitch. So you need to, if I want you to be stronger with immigration, if you don't, we're going to put a tariff on you. If you bitch about that, then, well, maybe we should just take you over. And what's Canada going to do? Do they even have an army? I don't think so. So it is funny how he does that, but it's for a reason. He does that, and it's funny to see. It's definitely funny to see here. All right, so that was the Trump, Canada as a state. Now we have the whole immigration thing here, which I'm getting a little worried about, but let's just take a look at this here. This is Josh Hawley. All I know, Josh Hawley's pretty good. I know he loves Israel more than life itself, but let's listen here.
Yeah, I'm kind of amazed that we're holding this hearing. To me, it's remarkable that the idea of actually, as you were just saying, Ms. Morin, the idea of enforcing our laws, protecting our border, securing our streets from criminals, it's amazing that that's controversial at all. And it says something a lot about the other side of the dais that we're having this hearing today. Let me just ask you, Mr. Reifland-Melnick, I mean, is it really such a bad idea to deport people like the criminal who killed this young man? This is Travis Wolf. He was 12 years old when he was killed.
Yeah, it is a bad idea to deport him. The guy that did that should be executed. He shouldn't be deported. So I'm not really on board with deporting criminals. First of all illegal aliens by definition are criminals. They're all criminals because they're breaking our law by being here. So they're all criminals. Keep that in mind. But ones that rape or murder, like the guy murdered that young man, well, no, he shouldn't be sent back to Venezuela or Haiti or wherever he came from. He should be sent to the cemetery. That's where he should be sent to. He should be deported to the cemetery.
He was mowed down, and I do mean mowed down, in a car by an illegal immigrant, 12 years of age, walking along a sidewalk in my state of Missouri, mowed down by an illegal immigrant who I think also had a prior criminal record. Is it such a bad idea to deport the person who killed him?
Yeah, it is. He should be executed.
Any person who commits a heinous crime should suffer the consequences under the law.
Good. What about Officer David Lee? Officer David Lee was killed in Missouri just a few months ago by another illegal immigrant.
Oh, the Republicans are doing a really tricky thing here. They're putting a black guy up. So, oh, we got you, Democrats. How can you be opposed to this? We're going to get the black people on our side to oppose illegal immigrants. That's a little trick they're doing here.
Immigrant, once again, in a car who used it as a lethal weapon to ram him and kill him. Is it so wrong, such a bad idea to deport the illegal immigrant who killed this good man?
Yeah, he should be executed. It would be an injustice to deport him. Why is it hard for people to answer this? I wish I was up here. I could answer better than these people.
Again, any person who commits an awful act should face the full force of the law.
We've had multiple stabbings in the state of Missouri at laundromats in O'Fallon, Missouri, where innocent civilians were going to do their laundry of an evening and were attacked with knives, slashed, bled, stomped upon. Should the illegals who did that, should they not be deported?
No, they should go to prison.
No, as I said, if you commit an offense, you should face consequences. But the overwhelming majority of the 13
We've
million
had officers
people here
assaulted
today
in
have
Kansas
not
City on the
committed
other side
any
of the
offenses.
state who have been assaulted by illegal immigrants. One officer required over 100 stitches to the head.
The other guy, I don't know who the other guy is. This guy, the little shitlib here, he actually brought up a better point. And Republicans, they're the stupid party. I'm not saying I'm super smart, but I'm smarter than they are. I understand the logical problems they go down. Number one, no, we don't deport murderers or rapists. We put them in prison or execute them. Okay. And that's what that shitlib was saying. He's right. Basically, that they should pay the penalty for that. Then the shitlib was saying, but the majority of these illegals, they don't commit crimes. Yeah, that's probably true. Well, they're all committing a crime because they're killed illegally. So that's probably true, but I don't care. That's not why I want them out. I want them out because we have a right to our homeland, our culture, our language. That's the reason I'm opposed to it. This is why the Republicans always lose. And this is what's starting to really bother me is unless you have the reason you want these people out, and you say, oh, well, no, we're just going to deport the criminals. Well, that's not what I voted for. I voted for them to all go. I don't care if you're a nice person, you can be a nice person in your homeland. But I have a fear that this whole immigrant thing, there's not going to be really many deported. And it's just rhetoric that the Trump administration said. I do think they'll be better at the border with the illegals coming in, but they'll do something stupid. Well, if you commit violent crimes, we'll deport you. Well, that's stupid. You should get a serious penalty for that, not just be deported. So Josh Hawley, he thinks that's probably a good look, a win, but it really wasn't a good win. He needs to be able to say to that guy with glasses, no, we want them deported. They're here illegally, so they're all criminals. And they can, you're probably right. A lot of them are probably great people. They can be great people in their homeland. This is our homeland. We're not for everyone. We don't have the money for everyone. They can be great people in their homeland. See, you answer the question and they don't really have a response to that. Oh, that's racist. Well, we have a right to, just like the Jews have a right to homeland, we have a right to homeland. That's how you deal with it. Not put up a picture of some black guy that was killed and say, oh, this is a reason. Anyone that kills a black police officer, they should be deported. No, they should be arrested. But Josh Hawley's not really that smart, unfortunately. So this is what we get here. All right. And the last thing I want to talk about, and then we'll look at our animal one, is this Syria mess here. Here it is. Breathtaking. During the past 48 hours, Israel attacked 1,400 targets in Syria with our tax money, our weapons we sent them. All chemical weapons facilities, all missiles, all Air Force, all Navy ships, and anti-aircraft guns. And Israel's also taken a lot of the land, and Turkey's involved with this too. It's a big clusterfuck, basically, in Syria right now. I feel sorry for the Christians, and I'm sure all the Muslims are lopping off heads again. The guy in charge is a former ISIS guy. It's sad, but it's going to break apart, and there could be some sort of civil war there. Israel wants their chunk, and the Iranians will have their proxy. Turkey will have their influence. So it's Assad, as the dictators go, he was actually pretty nice. He seemed pretty mild-mannered. He was pretty stable. He didn't want to... They actually celebrated Christmas in Syria, and that's going to be gone. So, in a way, I agree with Trump. We don't have business there. Let them, do whatever, their beheadings or whatever. The latest Muhammad wants to behead the other Muhammad. I don't really care. Just keep the Muhammads out of our countries and in Syria. And by the way, now that Assad's gone, all the Syrian refugees that supposedly left Syria because Assad is an evil dictator. Okay, guys, you can go. I'll go home now. So they need to pack their bags, like the ones in Germany. Pack your bags, head on back. That's not going to happen, though. So it's a mess. And the Syrian army, they didn't fight. They got some orders to stand down. Assad was betrayed. I think there might have been some Russian guy kind of agreed with me. He didn't. It wasn't because he read me, but it kind of confirmed my analysis. There might have been some deal behind the scenes between Putin and Trump, that Trump told Putin, my heart's with Israel. I'm a Zionist. I'm not so much a neocon, though. So if, you can have Ukraine or get a lot of Ukraine. In return, I want you to, stop supporting Syria because, I love the Jews more than life itself. So I think that is the reason. Pam Hyde, with Syria defanged, do you think it makes an attack on Iran more or less likely? I think it's less likely, really. And so, again, this wasn't necessarily, on a tactical basis, it was short-term, it was a win for Israel. But the problem Israel's going to have when they take more of these lands are composed of Muslims that hate them. And once you take territory of people that hate you, even though you don't allow them to vote and everything, they're going to have problems trying to maintain these. They're already having problems in what used to be called Palestine or Gaza, trying to keep the Muslims under control. And, they basically have a big open air concentration camp they keep them in Gaza. I don't know if they're going to try to do that in their part of Syria. So Israel's they kind of bit off more than they can chew, but they have this idea of the greater Israel, and they have a guy coming in, the Trump administration, they're big Zionist, which are different than neocons. Sometimes you get people, they're both, like John Bolton, a neocon and a Zionist, but Zionists are mostly just focused on Israel, the state of Israel for the Jewish people. Neocons are more the globalists like Soros. And the neocons like Victoria Nuland, Kagan, they are focused on trying to defeat Russia, divide Russia up, bring BlackRock in and have gay pride parades. Whereas Trump is not as interested in that, but he is interested in supporting whatever Israel wants. And I think Iran is playing the game that they want to become because they are a lot more powerful than Syria. They're fairly powerful. But Iran's been very restrained. Israel's been trying to get them in a war, try to provoke them. But Iran's been very restrained. And I think that's because Iran, they want to be part of this new global order. As Putin says, any negotiation in Ukraine needs to be more than just about Crimea or the Donbass. It's got to be about the whole order of the world. And it's no longer the United States controlling everything, but there's going to be various blocks like China, BRICS, Russia, Brazil, China, India, and Iran wants to be part of that. And so Iran wants to be seen as a major power, and they want to get their nuclear weapons so Israel can't screw with them. And they want to be aligned with especially Russia, even China. They want to become a power. And face it, Syria and countries like Egypt and Jordan and Lebanon, they're not serious powers. They're kind of smaller proxy states. But Iran wants to be they want to be in the big boy club. So they don't want necessarily a war with Israel. They don't really like Israel, but they have another agenda right now, and they don't want to all-out war with the United States at this time. They want to get more powerful. So they've been pretty moderate, really, recently. And I don't think they're going to provide any pretext for a war with the United States. I mean, it does worry me a little bit because Trump does hate Iran, and he loves Israel. It's a different situation with Ukraine. I don't think Trump likes Zelensky. He doesn't really care for that. I think Trump likes Putin and Russia. Trump's always like, why can't we be friends with Russia? That's his point. And Russia's not anti-Israel or anything. They just look at it as a geopolitical thing. So I don't think there's going to be a war with Iran because I think Iran is really backing off and they're not going to try to antagonize Israel too much. And Israel will do their usual thing, which short term is good for Israel. They got this more land and they'll have more of the Muslims in their little open air concentration camps. But long term, that's going to be hard for them to manage and in their borders, unless they just do straight out ethnic cleansing. Maybe they'll do that. So, yeah, I think this was more of a Zionist victory and a neocon loss. Sometimes we have some of those. All right, so that was Syria, what's happening there. And we'll see who eventually gains control over Syria. Syria may end up like Iraq, probably, where you have the official government, or Afghanistan was. You have the official government, but then you have regions that are controlled by other warlords. It's kind of sad because Syria was getting close to being a modern country, but now they're going back to the usual Muslim Arab beheading bullshit. It's kind of sad, but that's where we are. All right. And I always like to end. Thank you guys. It's been a fun show tonight. Be sure to turn in tomorrow for Happy Homelands. And here's the show. Some of the doggies. Oh, look at them. They're all cuddling up. Are those golden retrievers, I think? Yeah, they're such nice dogs. They're gentle dogs. The cat's like, oh, right there with them. Nice and warm. Button, my dog is scared of Sasha's cats. That's the only bad thing. So I know the dog is scared, but that's pretty cute. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here tonight. It's been a lot of fun. And I will be back tomorrow's Happy Homelands. On Thursday and Fridays, the Ramsey Paul Show. Then we have Night Owls. A lot of good stuff coming up. And so I'll talk to you guys later. God bless.